Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and I'm the host of Incredible Life Creator Podcast. And today I have with me Lynnis Woods-Mullins and Shelley Negelow. And we're going to talk to you today about a new program they're launching that is amazing for women called V.I.B.E. Ladies, without further ado, let's just introduce ourselves and let people know who we are, your background, and why you're the right person to teach this course. So Glynis, why don't we start with you?
Okay, well, my name is Lynnis Woods-Mullins, and I am a certified holistic living and wellness expert for women over 40. And I specialize, Kimberly, in working with women who have issues around their wellness, whether it be their mind, their body, and spirit, using holistic practices, fitness, and spiritual renewal, nutrition. And I do that through coaching programs, webinars, special virtual events. Also, I have an e-magazine, I have a webcast and a podcast, and I have a wonderful women's group on Facebook that just got to 5,300 women, all over 40, who are really interested in finding new ways to be well, who don't necessarily want to live their lives having to take pharmaceuticals, having to have surgeries, and to find out what they can do preventatively to have mind, body, spirit wellness. I created the brand that we designed this program for called V.I.B.E., because I really felt that women in midlife were beginning to feel that maybe they were losing their vibrancy. And V.I.B.E. is an acronym. It stands for being vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and emerged. And I think that actually midlife women, as they age, are still capable of great vibrancy. It all just depends on their perception of life and the way they view themselves. And in terms of their intuition, I think that at midlife, their intuition is really well developed. It's just that maybe they're not clear. In other ways to be able to hear that inner voice that's directing them. And as far as their beauty is concerned, it's not just about the surface beauty, because we all know, as we were talking about before, that's going to go away over time, but it's that inner beauty that radiates out that gives you that overall beauty and vibrancy. And in terms of emergence, I think that women, midlife women, are the sum total of all their experiences. And they actually are really ready to emerge into the woman that they always have been or truly want to be, but there's always been something blocking them. And so the program that Dr. Shelley and I designed together helps them remove those blocks and increase their vibrancy and wellness, and really put them on a path to vibe and to live a life they love.
Wonderful. Yeah, I actually interviewed a monk who now has a hot yoga studio,
Mm.
um, for a book that I wrote, Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life. And he was talking about people going through the seasons of life. And he was
Mm.
saying, you're getting older and you think, oh, I'm not attractive anymore. I'm not desired anymore. And he said, it's the opposite. You are getting more beautiful as you go deeper. And because you have this wisdom
Mm.
and all this experience that you can share, that
Mm.
anybody who has a relationship with you, it's going to be deeper, more intimate, more meaningful,
Mm.
because of this person you have become just through life.
Well, that's beautiful. Well, then that's good. I think we're on the right track for sure. And that is so true. And I think that while we know this is true, there are many women who either don't know that it's true or feel insecure about believing it. The
Mm.
confidence that they may have had when they were in their 30s and 40s, they feel like it's beginning to wane. And it's just as Dr. Shelley would say, a perception. It's not really true. It's just those thoughts that run through their mind that sometimes overtake their ability to, move past those and to see what's really there. And, as we age, there's some things that we tell ourselves that aren't healthy that we maybe have always been telling ourselves, but now it's even more detrimental in terms of moving forward with our lives because we've been telling ourselves these things for years. And that's one of the things that Dr. Shelley specializes in the program, is helping them clear all of that. Right, Dr. Shelley?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So why don't you tell us about you, Shelley?
Sure. I'm Dr. Shelley Negelow. I'm founder of Power Woman Seminars, and I'm also co-founder of the Academy for Conscious Living. And my passion is to support women in really creating a life that they love. And what Lynnis was speaking about is that I train women step by step by step in really taking proactive, having proactive ways to create, to manifest the kind of life we really want to have and let go of the things that really get in the way. So it's really a healing process. It's a healing process physically, mentally, and emotionally, so
Mhm.
that when you're done, you come away feeling brand new inside. You really feel connected with your life. You are turned on with your passion. You're able to use your innate energy, your innate power to have a quality of life we all really want to have, but we don't
Mhm.
know sometimes how to get.
Mm,
We're all capable of it and
Mhm.
we are hardwired for it,
Mhm.
but sometimes we just get in our own way. And especially as life gets accumulated and we have these, circumstances or experiences that we have not perhaps felt good enough in some way. And then
Mhm.
we sometimes think that, we're as good as the circumstances or the issues that have accumulated in our lives, and we lose our self-worth.
mhm,
Well, we're so much greater than our circumstances and even in the experiences that we've had. We're even greater than that. So, how do you tap into that innate power, that innate place within ourselves that's already there? And I teach that step by step by step. So, what Linus and I have come to is, well, how it's so important in today's time, for women to not only experience who they are, which is what I teach, but also to feel, good with who they are on the outside too, which is what
Mhm.
Linus teaches. How do you marry the two so that women feel whole in every part of their lives
Mhm.
and have incredibly powerful tools that will move them forward to produce the quality of life that they really want to have?
Yeah. And Shelley, just so people know, give a little background on how you started out with Power of Women, your organization,
Oh,
because I know you were traveling all over. Talk a little bit about that because I want people to understand who they're working with.
oh, thanks, honey. I appreciate that. I call her honey because she's a friend. I love Kimberly. Um, I uh, I actually started Power of Woman out of healing my own life. I had many, many challenges in my childhood, and I determined at a very, very young age that I wasn't going to pass the pain on to my children that I experienced in my childhood when I had a family one day. And of course, I wasn't married, I was still in my teens. So I went on that journey of how do you heal? I was really strongly determined to do whatever I had to do because it was so painful. And I went on this journey with my wonderful husband of many, many years. We're going to be married on Thanksgiving Day, 49 years, which
Wow,
means I got married when I
congratulations.
was 2.
Yeah.
People say, what?
mhm,
And, you know, the thing is, the power of woman really is a reflection of women and who we are as people.
Mhm.
It really is about our innate power and our innate ability to manifest the kind of life we really want to have.
Mhm.
And it's a relearning, a rediscovering, and a relearning of how we live our lives, because most of us base our life on our circumstances, as I was speaking about before,
mhm,
and also uh, uh, our experiences that may or may not have worked for us.
Right.
And and our self-worth, whether it applies to that, perhaps it doesn't, perhaps we don't feel good enough out of some of
Mhm.
the things we've experienced. But what I did and what Kimberly was speaking about is that I had this experience of change. Women started to come to me many years ago because they saw I was changing,
Mhm.
and as a result they came and asked me to start to teach them.
Mhm.
And I'm still friends with a couple of the ladies that I started with many, many, many years ago because I've been teaching close to 35 years now.
Mhm.
And I've been across the country, word of mouth. Women getting results, telling other women, getting more results, telling other women. And to this day, there are women all over the country who still stay in touch with me, and from time to time even come back for classes and seminars and even private healing from time to time,
Mhm.
because I do private healing sessions also.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that. Now, Lynnis, I don't know your backstory. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing now?
Sure. For about 26 years, I was in human resources, and I had done quite well, and had 4 children, 4 girls. They were all very close in age. I was on my second husband by that time. We had been married maybe about 6 years or so. And, I had what appeared to be the American dream, the big house with the pool and the tennis court. And, husband was doing great. I was doing great. One of my daughters was on her way to college. The other two were right behind her. And things looked on the surface very good. But I really wasn't feeling something was missing in my life. And I couldn't figure out what it is. I mean, every morning I would wake up and feel like I was going straight downhill in a roller coaster with no restraints, anxiety. And it took me years to figure out where that comes from. And that's why I've become an expert in anxiety and how to manage it, because I had to learn how to do that myself. But back then I would just drink some coffee, the anxiety would go away, and go on with my day until one day it just that process didn't work any longer. I had an epiphany and I knew I needed to do something. So I decided to take some time off and maybe I went away to a respite for about a week. In fact, my boss and his boss, they both said, because of what happened to me, I ended up in emergency, because I had, it wasn't really an anxiety attack. It was really a breakdown. I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. Couldn't figure out why I was crying. And they said, you need to take a break. So I took a week off and I went to a respite and talked to counselors and everything else. And by the time I finished with them, I realized that I really needed more than just a week. So I took a year off. At that time, I was working for medical industry, health industry, and you can take sabbaticals. And I was an executive. So I took a sabbatical for a year. With full pay, with the idea of coming back. And on the day that it was time for me to come back, I realized I did not want to go back, that I wanted to do something else. I had learned so much about how to heal my anxiety. But in the meantime, I learned a lot more about nutrition and holistic practices and things that I kind of knew about when I was in college, because I had a minor in nutrition, but a lot of other things that I hadn't learned. And at that time, the mind, body, spirit movement was beginning to take hold, because this was like 2008. So I had the idea initially that I would open up a dance studio, because in my other life, I was a professional dancer and in ballet. And I said I would open a studio to teach women over 40 how to dance. And I did my first few classes, and I quickly found out that these women needed so much more than just dance. I had students who were overcoming breast cancer, another one who was a diabetic. I had several obese students, another one who had an empty nest syndrome and was dealing with depression, and another one who was going through a really ugly divorce after 35 years. And I found that there were so many women that needed more than just the dance. So that's when I began to get more into the idea of health and wellness. And my company then was PraiseWorks, for praise dance is one of the things we taught. And instead I called it PraiseWorks Health and Wellness. And that really began my journey. I became certified in nutrition and holistic health, and got a certification in Pilates and yoga, and began to design products and services that could help women with wellness, with an emphasis on managing chronic stress and anxiety. And what I found along the way, as my movement really began to grow, is that this was something that women really needed, and didn't really realize that they needed it, because they were like me. They've been pushing back so many of these issues and symptoms that they were having. And they were using pharmaceuticals, or in some cases, surgeries, to deal with the outcome of pushing back stress and anxiety for so long, because that's what happens over time. Chronic stress begins to exacerbate other issues that are going on with you physically. That's why it's so important to manage it. And so I, created coaching programs online, and that was a real challenge because the demographic that I was appealing to, which was women over 40, they weren't online like that back in 2008.
Not
So
at
I
all.
really was a pioneer back there, and am considered to be one of the premier experts when it comes to mind, body, spirit wellness programs online. I had to learn it from scratch and teach it all by myself. But even though it was challenging, I learned even more. And now, so many years later, almost 12 years later, I have over 150,000 followers on social media. Although I've learned also a like doesn't necessarily equal a dollar. But all that hard work is paying off now because now my demographic is online.
Mhm,
And while everybody else is trying to figure out how to get online, I already know.
mhm,
I was doing it day in and day out for 12 years.
mhm.
And I have found that being online for women has become a lifeline during this season with the pandemic. And the program that we have designed is to kind of further, cast those lifelines out there for people who need the help and don't know where to start or where to go. And we really feel that this program is a way for them to kind of journey back to themselves, to their real self, the ones that they have been feeling that they've lost, or in some cases may have never really discovered.
Yeah. And as you were talking and you said, starting out with the dance, which is so basic and so critical. I mean, let's just talk about anxiety for a moment. How
Mhm.
important is movement when it comes to healing and releasing anxiety?
It's interesting because I'm still learning all the time about anxiety. I've taken courses in it. I'm so close to getting my my degree in psychology. I was just taking courses randomly online, and I just got my what do you call it? My transcript the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with another BS? I don't know. Anyway, I just took a lot of courses, but anyway, anxiety, much of it is driven, of course, with life experience, but the other part is hormonally. What's going on with people. And I discovered in one of my classes a term called menopausal anxiety. And it's very, very real. It comes from an imbalance in hormones. And when we first wake up in the morning, many times, especially if you're over 50, your cortisol levels are very high. And that might be the reasons why you're feeling a sense of anxiety first thing in the morning. There are so many things that you can do holistically to manage that. It's definitely something that you should not be afraid of, but it's something that's very real. It can be driven hormonally, but it can also be driven by just not dealing with those issues. For me, I had so many things I had put in my emotional closet that my closet was full, and I couldn't put one more thing in there, and it just fell out that day when I couldn't stop crying. And I think right now, my main advice to women who are dealing with anxiety, first and foremost, is not to fight that feeling, even though it feels horrible. You have to allow yourself to feel it and lean into it, because pushing it back just makes being delivered from it, so to speak, that much harder. You have to allow yourself to feel it. And then the other thing is that movement, as you mentioned, is key, because movement is what gets the happy hormones going, and it also lowers cholesterol. So when you first get up in the morning and you're feeling those feelings of anxiety, the best thing you can do for yourself is to move. Get out of bed and stretch. Get out of bed, put your, warm ups on and take a walk around the block. That goes a long way in terms of getting the happy hormones going and lowering that cortisol, which is truly a culprit when it comes to exacerbating the feelings of anxiety. The other thing in terms of movement is not only gets the happy hormones going, but it gets the blood flowing. And you do need blood flowing to the brain, because that helps you with reasoning, helps you with your thought processes. Because sometimes with anxiety, the thoughts that go through our mind become overwhelming. And if you're not refreshing yourself and keeping the blood flowing and moving and all that, the brain's not being refurbished. And then the reasoning thing goes away. It's like, you're not thinking clearly. But it's also an energetic experience in terms of going down to causation. And as Shelley had mentioned, sometimes you may not even know what's exactly causing the anxiety. But in order to remove that feeling, you don't necessarily have to know what it is, but you do have to know that you want to make a change. There's a mindset issue that happens when you decide to deal with anything having to do with your wellness. You have to first decide that you want to make the change. So many folks just don't decide to make the change. And I call them, or us, and before I decided to make the change, part of the walking wounded. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're functioning, things appear to
Mm-hmm.
be normal, but you're miserable. And I really do feel that here in the United States, especially with what's going on, we've kind of decided, okay, well, I'm just going to be miserable and let's just function within that. But you don't have to be miserable. There are things that you can do that can bring you joy and a sense of calm and peace without feeling miserable. Miserable is not a place that you have to be. It's not what we were created to be on this universe for at all. And it doesn't have to be a way of life. There are solutions and things and methods and things that you can do to get out of that misery thing and to move more into something that feels more like joy and feels a sense of peace and calm, and knowing that everything really does work out for you. I think we
Mm-hmm.
forget that. We wouldn't be talking now if everything hadn't worked out. We'd be gone. Everything
Right.
really does work out for you. It just depends on how you want it to work out. You can have it
Mm-hmm.
work out kicking and screaming and miserable, or you can really enjoy the journey along the way of things working out. And I think that anxiety, is a big culprit of stealing our possibilities of what we can do, because it's crippling
Mm-hmm.
and it really keeps us from moving forward in a healthy way when it comes to our overall wellness.
Beautiful. And I know started maybe about 3 weeks ago doing a morning walk. And I think anybody can do this. Just get up a little bit earlier. I just go for 15 minutes. I promise you. I walk 7.5 minutes this way. When the
Hmm.
7.5 minutes, I walk back. It's not very far. It has made a huge difference in the way I feel every day and how the clarity I have, my just well-being. I think my relationships feel better. And I just started by doing a walk.
It's interesting because part of what's happening too is that, again, from a physiological perspective, you're getting out there in oxygen and you're breathing in air, and that oxygen is converted to blood, and the blood goes throughout your body, including your brain.
Mhm.
Just imagine if everybody were to take a walk before they got in their car and drove to work, or before they sat in their chair and did virtual work these days. It makes a huge difference. And I know that some people hesitate about going out, but a walk around your backyard, a walk around your block isn't going to kill you. But if you want to put a mask on and walk, that's fine. But the main thing is getting out and getting that fresh air. And right now, in the midst of the pandemic, and people maybe feeling uncomfortable about certain things, no one is discouraging you from going out and getting fresh air and walking. That's so key to your physical health, but especially your emotional health. So good for you. It makes me want to go out and get one now.
Oh, I
I haven't
know. I
had my walk
know.
yet since it's so early in the morning, but that's what we're going to do right after this.
I was gonna say I'll do that right after this too, and then I'll go see patients. So, you can do it. I work full time. I have a podcast, and I wake up early and do these podcasts. I stay late and do podcasts. I still have 15 minutes.
Yes,
Everybody's got
that's
15.
important. That's important. Absolutely. That's
So,
important.
but I wanted to talk to Shelley now. So, Shelley, there's a lot of things that women can do, just everyday practices that can help them. What are some of your most effective, best things that you teach people?
Well, there are many, but one of the things I begin with women so that they actually learn how to slow down, because we base our lives on how much we can accomplish on our to-do list
Mhm.
most of the time, and we forget to have joy and satisfaction. And the completing the to-do list isn't necessarily going to bring you lots of satisfaction, and when you're done with that, then you have another to-do list that you're going to go chasing down again.
Mhm.
So learning to slow down, because it looks like if you're speeding up, well, then you're going to accomplish more. It seems that way, it seems logical,
Mhm.
except
Mhm.
that you're actually speeding up against your natural flow of living your life,
Mhm.
your natural innate power. Your natural innate power is not speeded up, it's actually slowed down. So you
Mhm.
can relax and be peaceful and be able to enjoy every moment of your life. So, one of the very first things I teach is how to breathe. Open yourself up so that you can enjoy the moment and use the breath as let's say, the catalyst or the triggering device for letting go of whatever you're holding on to. And then as you are going through the day, your focus is much clearer, your thinking is much clearer, your passion for living life is much clearer just in slowing down and breathing.
Mhm.
And you actually accomplish even more, much more than what we could have imagined otherwise, because everything occurs with much greater ease
Mhm.
without that push. So
Right.
you can imagine it's difficult sometimes for our thinking to even get the concept because you have to experience it.
Mhm.
So I teach that step by step by step. One of the other things that I teach that support women is learning how do you let go of something that's getting in your way. Because, we're talking about a mindset, and most of us focus on what we're thinking, but we're so much more than what we think. We're
Mhm.
physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings. So, in order to release something fully out of our system, it isn't just changing your thinking, because if it were that simple, everybody would be doing it.
Mhm.
And of course, positive thinking by itself doesn't really change anything. It makes you feel good for a moment, it makes you feel good. But the dilemma is you're usually having a positive thought on top of whatever you don't feel good enough about.
Mhm.
So, learning how to release whatever you're holding on to is physical, mental, and emotional. And it actually is not a difficult experience once you learn how to kind of tap into that inner feeling, that inner knowing of your body. So I teach that step by step so that as you release whatever is coming up for you, you then can create a whole new outcome. You can create the joy, you can create the peace, you can experience greater love in your life, being able to express yourself more fully. And the emotion gets cleared, the mental part gets cleared, your thinking gets cleared. One of the things I was speaking with Lynnis about the other day was that since we have such ongoing thinking, uh, Lynnis calls it, and I love the term, monkey mind. I call it loud chatter in the background, not
Mhm.
quite as sexy. But that ongoing thinking, we think, is real, and that
Mhm.
whatever the thoughts are, it means something about who we are. So we give it meaning. And the dilemma is that it's just thoughts, it's our survival mechanism, and those thoughts actually don't mean anything. And yet we give it all this meaning.
And
Now,
energy.
lots of energy, and we keep the patterns going.
Uh-huh.
So, learning how to release within yourself, learning how to heal yourself in the experience, in the energy of the body, that's a whole different reality. And then the thinking shifts, the neurology in the brain changes, you actually create new neurological pathways. And the things you were putting up with are no longer there to react to. You're responding in life in a whole new way. And I can tell you that for sure. When I started this experience with myself, coming out of the difficult child circumstances, I had an enormous amount of depression. And I never went to a doctor for it. I was very much determined I was going to do things holistically at the time. So I actually learned how to let go of those thoughts and the corresponding body feelings, the mental loud thinking or monkey mind,
Mhm.
and change the neurology over time so that I don't have depression at all. I
Mhm.
wake up very open, alive, excited to be in my life. But it took me a very long time because nobody taught me. I had to teach myself. I had to discover it for myself. So I teach women, how do you shift something that's been going on with you for so long? Because one of the things, Kimberly, and I know you've taken Power of Woman seminar,
Yes.
so you understand that you can't have, let's say, anger in the same place that you have creating and joy. You're going to have one or the other, or depression, or what do you want to have instead of depression? Well, for me, it's usually peacefulness.
Mhm.
It's one or the other. you're not going to have both in the same space. So learning how to release whatever there is that you've held on to from your past, whether it be difficult circumstances, not feeling good enough about yourself, uh, perhaps some life experiences that didn't work out the way you wanted them to be. Any number of things that all of us experience being human.
Mhm.
What happens is when you let that go and you really do let it go, physically, mentally, emotionally, then there's a whole new world that opens up. And the thing that's so beautiful about it is that now you're open in your own natural energy to create whatever you want in your life, to manifest what you want. That's really exciting because you don't have anything in the way any longer.
Mhm.
And that what watching thousands of women that I've trained over the years go through those changes, I mean literally physically right in front of me, has been so extraordinary. And it's sustainable because it does become permanent change.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about as you're speaking, going through the techniques that I've learned from you, Shelley. It's all sustainable. Have you ever been to a training or a weekend workshop and you're all hyped up and you're like, oh, I feel so good. This is awesome. I'm hanging out with these wonderful women. And and then 2 weeks later, you're having the same thoughts, you're struggling with the same things. But what you have taught me is so sustainable. And especially about the breathing. I just on the podcast, I had someone on that she was talking about stress, and she talks to companies and corporations and groups of people about relieving stress. And she was saying, actually, just by taking 3 deep breaths, it resets your chemistry, your neurology, everything is reset just with taking a moment and having 3 deep breaths. And I know, Shelley, with your techniques, we do a lot more than three. Sometimes we have some breathing sessions, and I, I felt different at the end of those sessions every time. I feel like I'm like you said, emerging. I'm emerging to the next level. So here I am, I've emerged here. I don't go backwards. It's sustainable. But then there's another layer, right? So the next time I'm doing the techniques or I'm doing my breathing and I'm doing my creating, I emerge even more. It's like the flower just opening a little bit, little bit, little bit,
It's so
little bit till
true.
it blooms.
That's very true. You're training yourself and being open all the time
Mhm.
because most of us hold on to our breath and we don't even
Yes.
realize it. We're taking very shallow breaths, the top of our chest, and we don't even notice. Or sometimes, we're up against some issue and then we stop breathing.
Mhm.
And so you're walking around on the planet doing whatever you do and you're not breathing. And yet the breath is the bottom line experience for opening your body. It's the most important tool.
Mhm.
Now, of course, there are many others, but that one is the crucial one so that you can start to build a whole new experience for your life.
Mhm.
And it supports you in opening your body so like you were speaking about, then you can start to manifest the results you want. Because if you're holding on to your breath and you're holding on to your old ways of operating, how in the world are you going to create something brand new? You can't, because you're trying to create on top of what you're holding on to inside. That makes no sense.
Mhm.
But the thing that's so amazing about the procedures and the exercises is that you don't have to wait for, your life to be in this perfect place before you create the quality of life you want. You start to have the quality of life immediately.
Mhm.
Things start to change immediately.
Yes, it is immediate. It
It's
is totally
immediate.
immediate. So I just want to say to the listeners right now, don't you want more of these ladies? Do you hear their experience? They've been through it. They have the experience, huge changes in their lives, and they've changed the lives of other people. So I would like for us to talk about, okay, this V.I.B.E. program. What are we offering people? Because now they see the value. They, I don't know, but I was already convinced, but now I'm really convinced, that, yeah, I want more of you. I want to hear more of what you've learned and I want to learn from you. So, um, talk about the V.I.B.E. Living series, what it is, what people will get. Why would they want to do that?
Well, Vibe Living Series, as I mentioned, is based upon this whole idea of being vibrant and intuitive, beautiful, and emerged, and enhancing really all the things that are already that you already have, but that maybe you've had problems bringing it forth because of all the blocks and all the other things that are going on with you that aren't promoting wellness. So we have different components. We have what I would call what Dr. Shelley does, the energy healing and dealing with things from a holistic standpoint. And then you have the wellness components that deal with things anywhere from your actual what you're eating, the supplements that you're taking, whether or not you've detoxed or not, and different detoxes that you might do, essential oils that you might need to take, and also movement, which is really key when it comes to getting those happy hormones going and just feeling better in your body. So we have 6 sessions, and I have to look at my site so I can tell you the sessions by heart and not forget any of the sessions. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Uh, is it going to let me do it? Yeah, it's not going to let. Shelly, can you pull it up on your end? I pulled it up, but now I can't.
It's
Can't
we're going to be starting in January, and I believe it's the 6th.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to describe the sessions. We're
Okay.
starting on January 7th. That's when the program starts. And we have 6 sessions that are conducted in a live group setting, which is really cool. So basically, you have access to 2 experts or coaches, if you will, for 2 hours in each session, both Shelley and I. And the first session, we talk about vibrancy and what it means and what you can do to enhance it and why it's so important. And we give you the tools and the information and the techniques so that you can feel more youthful inside and out, as well as have more passion for everything that you do. At the end of each session, you'll walk away with talking points that you can download that will give you remembrance of what we talked about, as well as the recording of the session. And then the second session is all about intuition, what intuition means and what it means to fine tune your clarity, your sensitivity, and your focus so that you can make better choices, because intuition is really key, especially in midlife, because there's so much that we already have within us. And if we can get a little clearer and get more focused, your intuition becomes enhanced and you make better decisions. Therefore, you have a better life, more fun, more joy, more happiness in your life. The next session has to do with beauty. And it's not so much that we give a lot of anti aging tips or anything like that, but basically, it's about from the inside out, doing those things that are necessary to clear out the gunk and feel more healed and more whole and able to express your beauty in all areas of your life. So we cover that. The next session is about emerging. And basically, emerging, it means stepping out into your full potential. With gratitude, and so that you can experience the joy of manifesting your life dreams. So, we do a lot of work around pulling out of you those things that maybe have been deep rooted that you need to get out. Some things are good, some things aren't, but either way it goes, you need to get that out so you can fully emerge and use what you've learned in the other 3 sessions to feel complete and whole. And then the fifth session is our blueprint session. And in the blueprint session, that's when we begin to help you plan and design how you want your life to be. So we just don't talk at you. This is interactive. And the goal is that by the end of the blueprint session, that you will have a plan of things that you want to do. And you'll also know how you want to go about executing them using the tools that you're being taught along the way. And finally, on the sixth session, that's what we call expanding your blueprint. And in expanding your blueprint, we're going to, really assimilate what you've learned, figure out what's working, what resonates with you, what's not, fine tuning it so that at the end of 6 weeks, you actually have a blueprint for your life, an action plan, if you will, that will sustain you, as you're mentioning earlier, Kimberly, and give you the tools you need to live what Shelley and I call a vibe life, being vibrant in your life, and your intuition has improved, and you're more clear. Your inner beauty that you know you have, you're confident in, and that's radiating, and you're ready to let it shine through. And you're taking all of this, and you're emerging into the woman that you really want to be. Shelley, was there anything else that I could add from that?
Well, I think the most important thing is each person's commitment to their life. You know, we have this amazing program that supports women in producing the results. But the most important part is you and your commitment to your own life. And I'll tell you, when I decided many years ago that I wasn't going to that I was going to find a way to heal no matter what, it changed my life forever now. Were some things not working? Absolutely. Many things didn't work in the early days. But now I have a life of such ecstasy and such passion. It's been that way for many years. And don't isn't that what we all want?
Right.
We
Mhm.
all want it. And we
Mhm.
don't know what to do about it. We think that this is just the way life is. This is what I've been dealt with in my life, and you put up with it. No, you don't have to put up with it. In fact, it's your birthright to create a life you love, to really live it, to enjoy it, to have passion for your life, to have full satisfaction, to express your love fully in your world with all the people that you love and that love you.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually have a friend that she says, we tolerate so much. She said, stop tolerating things. Don't tolerate anything.
That's
So what are
exactly
you,
right.
she said the question is, what are you tolerating in your life?
Mhm.
What are you
And I think that's a
tolerating?
good
Well,
way to pull up the things that you don't want and say,
Mhm.
okay, do I want to live with this anymore?
Right, exactly. And when I think about the program, the word that comes to mind all the time is a transformation. It's an opportunity for you to transform and to be who you always knew you could be, but just not quite there yet. All the components are there. I personally believe that all the components have been placed within you since birth, but there's so many distractions and there's so many detours and other things that we take just as human beings that sometimes keeps us from really tapping into what some people would call their purpose. I hear so many women talk about that they're not sure what their purpose is. And many times the reason why you're not sure is because you're not clear. You just haven't been able to get rid of that gunk and all the different things that have been fed into your system that just haven't been cleared out so that you can think more clearly. Or in other cases, you haven't taken care of yourself the way that you should. When you are eating a diet full of preservatives and carbs and not exercising, not moving, not getting enough rest, not sleeping well, not really doing all the things to keep yourself spiritually connected, when you are just kind of moving through life based upon happenstance and not deliberately with an idea of, staying well and all that. Well, after a while, things do get muddied. And it's no question why you might not know what your purpose is
Mhm.
because you're not on that path. You're just kind of existing. You're accepting being, quite frankly, miserable because what I described sounds like someone who's probably miserable.
Mhm.
But there is another way. And Dr. Shelley is absolutely right. The first step is deciding that you want to make a change, that the time is now. I talk a lot about, and Dr. Shelley and I were talking about, finishing strong in 2020. Because initially, and we've had a journey getting to this program. We started out with one thing, and now we're to this right now. But one thing we wanted to share with everyone out there is that you can finish strong in 2020 by making a decision in 2020 that 2021 is going to be different, and one way to finish strong is to make the commitment to take a course like ours, to do the work and to make the commitment to do it and start it in 2020, having something to look forward to in 2021. So many times, to me, finishing strong is making that decision and being resolute about it, not backing off, and deciding that no matter what's going on, because there's been think about it. We have been through a lot as a nation, as a country here in the United States. We have been through a lot. Yet many of us, most of us, are still hopeful, are still pressing, are still trying to live our lives. Well, this is just one more step in that conundrum of living a pandemic life, is making a commitment that when you come out of this, you're going to be focused, ready, and strong to be vibrant and to pursue those things that you've always wanted to pursue, or to live in a way that you've always wanted to live or create in a way you've always wanted to create, feeling good within your skin, feeling good within you. And that's possible to do that, even in the midst of chaos, because as you begin to study with us, you begin to realize what the distractions are and how to cast them aside so you can continue focusing on your self-care and focusing on the things that you really want to do, regardless of what's going on around us.
Well, so people who want to make a deliberate
Mm-hmm.
commitment, they're ready not to tolerate, they're ready to make 2021 the best ever. How do they sign up? How do they start with you and
Sure.
take
They
this
can go
journey?
to they can go to V.I.B.E.lifestyleseries, V.I.B.E.lifestyleseries, and they can sign up for our program. They need to go to the site to check what the current pricing is, because I don't know when they're going to be listening to this. But if they happen to listen to this during the Black Friday time, there's special pricing. But we also have introductory prices. The main thing is to get in there, sign up, and make arrangements so that you can start 2021 on a path that's going to lead you to your vibrancy. And it's going to lead you to an enhanced life that you really love and creating a life that you love. We have this saying in Vibe Living, basically, we're going to teach you and you're going to learn how to fall in love with the new you in 2021.
Beautiful. Well, ladies, thank you so much for sharing yourselves and
Thank
being
you.
just so,
Thank you.
open and transparent and sharing your journeys. And I know people will want to jump along on this journey with you and just become who they want to become.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, for
Thank you so
inviting us here. It's always great to be with you.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you both soon.
Bye-bye.